一口中文。嗨，大家好，我是 Mandy，
我是九如。
Welcome back to Bitesize Basics. What are we talking about today?
Today we're continuing our mini theme about cross-strait language differences.
That's right. In the last episode, we talked about 国语 and 普通话, two different names for Mandarin used in Taiwan and in China.
And today we've prepared a fun episode discussing some everyday vocabulary differences between Taiwan and China.
Okay, I'll start with a few quick examples that most learners might have already encountered, like the word for taxi. In Taiwan, it's 计程车, but in China, it's 出租车.
And the same goes for bicycles. In Taiwan we say 脚踏车, but in China it's 自行车.
Sometimes you'll see differences in how famous people's names are translated. For example, in Taiwan, we call Donald Trump 川普, but in China, it's 特朗普.
Or 泰勒斯 versus 泰勒斯威夫特 for Taylor Swift.
That's right. So those are just some warm-up examples. Today, we're going to look at 6 useful terms that show how word choices can differ between Taiwan and China.
Let's start with something very common, the word for feeling pain.
In Taiwan, we usually say 痛, like 头痛,肚子痛.
But in China, people often say 疼,头疼,肚子疼.
Right, and speaking of 痛 and 疼, that reminds me of a small story. I went on a hike in Thailand last month, and we ran into a group of tourists who also spoke Mandarin. And this lady came up to me and asked, 不好意思,你有没有创可贴? It took me a second to realize what she actually meant. 九如, do you know what 创可贴 is?
Of course, 创可贴 means Band-Aid in China. But in Taiwan, we say ，OK 泵.
Exactly. So don't worry. People will understand you even you mix them up. It just sounds very regional.
Okay, here's another one. When people first said this to me, I was a little confused until I figured out what that meant. How would you say someone is amazing?
Well, in Taiwan, we usually say 很厉害. For example, 你的中文说得很好耶,很厉害.
But in China, especially among younger people, you will hear 很牛.
牛 as in cow?
Exactly. It sounds really funny in English, but it just means awesome.
Okay, so if you say 很牛 in Taiwan, people will understand you. But it sounds very China style.
So far, the differences have been small. Now we're entering the dangerous territory. Let's look at the next term, 土豆.
Well, when I hear 土豆, I think of peanuts. Because in Taiwanese pronunciation, it sounds like 头刀.
But in China, 土豆 means potato.
So, if you order 土豆 in the wrong place, you might get something very different.
This is the kind of difference that can actually cause real confusion.
Here's another one for you. 爱人.
In China, 爱人 usually means spouse or partner. People might say, 我爱人还没回家.
But in Taiwan, 爱人 sounds more like lover.
Well, that sounds a little scandalous, right?
Yeah, so if someone in Taiwan says, 这是我的爱人, well, people might misunderstand.
And finally, the most dangerous one is this. 酒店.
In China, 酒店 means hotel. So it's common to say, well, for example, 我今晚住酒店.
But in Taiwan, 酒店 usually refers to a hostess bar.
Oh, so if you tell someone in Taiwan, 我要去酒店, that might sound very different.
And that's why vocabulary differences really matter.
Mandarin spoken in Taiwan and Mandarin spoken in China are mostly mutually understandable, but the vocabulary reflects different history, different culture, and social context.
None of these words are right or wrong. They just belong to different language environments.
So if you travel, study, or work across Taiwan and China, these differences can really help you avoid awkward moments.
Now it's your turn. Can you pick one of today's word pairs and make a sentence with it? Or tell us which version did you learn first?
Or have you ever experienced a funny misunderstanding because of vocabulary differences? Tag us on Instagram at Bitesize Chinese and share your story.
If you'd like the full vocabulary list and structured study guide, check out our podcast notes.
And if you want to practice using Mandarin confidently across different countries, you can book a free consultation with us.
All the details are in the show notes.
Thanks for listening.
谢谢你们，下次见。
I hope you find today's episode helpful. Stay tuned for more interesting topics. We also offer excellent Chinese lessons. Just go to our website and have a look. 谢谢你们，下次见。